Hey you guys, this is Sasha and I'm coming today with a video about babies. Yes, we're talking about babies again, no shocker, but specifically today we are talking about your preconception visit with your doctor. I recently had mine in the past week and I wanted to discuss some of the questions you can ask your doctor, whether you're trying to get pregnant for the first time or you've had a miscarriage or a stillbirth, just some things to ask. So I've got my notebook, and that would actually be my first tip, is to bring something where you already have a list of questions that you have written down, especially if you've already had a miscarriage or a stillbirth, and you have your post visit, but sometimes you're going through so much emotionally. I know mine was a 2-week post and I just mentally still was not together. So there was a lot of questions that I thought about over the next 3 months that I hadn't thought about prior to. So I would definitely encourage you to write it down in a handy little notebook and bring it with you. So I just had 4 questions for my doctor, and you might have more, you might have less. I had a stillbirth in October, which I mention quite frequently if you see my videos before. But one thing that I did not have done is I did not have an autopsy because they did an exam and there was no damage whatsoever, and they already let me know that the autopsy would be inconclusive. And I saw several doctors during the course of my stay in the hospital, and so for me, I did not want to cut into my daughter or disfigure her, and I didn't have to because we wanted to be able to see her again before her funeral, and they don't do autopsies on babies. So that was a decision my husband and I decided to make, and we were perfectly okay with that because we knew to do all that and then emotionally not be able to see her again physically not be able to see her again would be too much on us emotionally, and we just needed another goodbye. So that was our decision as parents, but everybody is different. If you do have an autopsy or there is some kind of medical diagnosis, I would definitely discuss that off tops when considering to try to have another baby or your first child. Knowing your genetic history for both you and your partner is always important to see if you are more prone to certain genetic conditions, and you can also do genetic testing while you're pregnant. So my first question, if you had a loss of some sort, would be, is it okay to try again? Different doctors have different time frames for when they encourage you to try to get pregnant. And so though we had been trying, our doctor never gave us a definitive answer at my 2 posts, like how much time to wait. So that was the first question I asked. And of course, he was already hoping we had been trying. And his response was, I hope to see you within the next 6 months or less because I fully believe you guys will be pregnant. And so that was wonderful that there was no issues in preventing us from trying. And another question that I had was about further medical testing for myself because the cause of our stillbirth was unknown. And he has stated, because again, you have to do your genetic history and do your screenings in terms of that. It's a choice you have while you're pregnant, that we didn't need any further medical testing on our part. But again, every person is different, but this is a good question to ask. Sometimes you need a workup, or sometimes you request to speak with a high-risk specialist and have a consultation with them if you've had previous issues that might put you and your child at risk during your pregnancy. And those are things that you really want to know before you get pregnant, because when you're pregnant, you already are trying to maintain like your health and stay good mentally and emotionally. It's a lot to deal with. So sometimes thinking and asking these questions prior to conceiving will help eliminate a lot of the stress that can occur by being pregnant. And so there was no other testing that my husband and I needed to do. There was nothing linked with our genetics. There was no chromosome defects or anything like that, which is a blessing. It just means that there was no definitive answer to why our daughter Shalaya passed. But the likelihood of it is very slim. I believe the odds of you having a stillbirth was already like 1%. And that's from a 2014 article. Again, you can look all this stuff up online. And so now our chances are even less than that. And so that was, I guess, good to hear, but it's not reassuring because, again, once you've experienced the loss is always going to be in the back of your mind, you know, period. So I wasn't looking for like, oh, you know, it'll never happen again, because a doctor can't realistically tell you that, because some people do experience more than one loss, whether it be a miscarriage or a stillbirth or whatever the case may be. So I was just glad to hear that it was minimal risk of it occurring again, and that made me feel better. Now, in terms of high risk, with me having a stillbirth, I did definitely ask about would I have to see a high-risk doctor, and my doctor told me I would not, because all the things that a high-risk doctor has, he has in his office in the clinic that he works, and all of the doctors that are in that clinic who would potentially deliver our son or daughter in the future are on trained and will be familiar with the case. But since the goal is to be induced at 39 weeks, he would definitely make sure he is there when it is time for us to give birth, which is very reassuring. We will be having extra ultrasounds, non-stress tests. Our visits would go down to once a week the last 2 months instead of the last month. And it's just a lot more precautionary things. One question, especially for a first-time mom or any mom who is trying, is to look at your weight. I know I spoke about weight in my overweight and trying to conceive video, but I think knowing what your starting weight is and talking about how much weight you should recommend, because it's normally anywhere between 6 and 8 weeks before the doctor actually comes in, and this is after you find out you're pregnant, that they will meet with you. A lot of doctors do not like doing early ultrasounds because you can't really get a view a lot of times of the baby, and it can cause a lot of stress and panic for the parents. And so they try to get you a little bit further along before they do additional ultrasounds. Now, every clinic and every practice is different. This is my clinic. So of course that would be a question I would talk. When will be the first ultrasound that you can get? You know, when to expect to be able to hear the baby's heartbeat and things like that, and how much weight you should anticipate to gain, or, you know, try to gain during your pregnancy, because you don't want to have too much weight that you gain, and you don't want to gain too little because you don't want any problems for babies. But again, each pregnancy is different, so that's something you really should ask your doctor during your pre-conception visit. And then another question that I asked was pretty much about, I guess, more the mental point of view of knowing when things are going to occur. So once we find out we're pregnant, when are the realistic time frames to do the genetic testing and, you know, getting our results back. All things that, again, once you've had a loss, can really be heightened. You're nervous. You want to know what the heartbeat is. You want to know what your results are pretty quickly. So that's a realistic question you might want to ask. How often will I get my results back, and how quickly will I get my results back? Is it one of those things where they just tell you in your follow-up appointment, or do they call and give you notifications, or do they only call if there's something to be concerned about? And so how you're going to receive your communication from your different tests, whether it be your first pregnancy or your fifth, is really important to know, because each pregnancy has different prenatal care. And you just want to know what to expect, so that you're not, you know, worrying about something that you can't control, or, you know, something that they generally don't do at your particular clinic. And of course, my doctor encouraged me to continue to take my prenatals, continue to lose weight. He enjoyed the fact that I'm almost at my pre-pregnancy weight that I was before I had my daughter. So that was nice. And, you know, make sure you don't stress while you're trying. These are all things that are always important, no matter what you're doing. If you stress about, you know, trying to get pregnant, it will really bother you. And I say that because I'm posting this video instead of my live pregnancy test, because my test was negative. Now, I don't mind posting a negative test whatsoever. It doesn't take anything away from me, but I know a lot of people, it really bothers them emotionally. And of course I cry. I'm not going to say that I didn't. I cry every time I get a negative test. But one thing I try not to do is stress out about it. I don't stress when my husband and I are going to baby dance. I don't stress about, you know, what to eat and what not to eat. I try to do what I'm supposed to do to maintain my weight and what I know my goals are, but I don't make it so it's like an additional job, because that can actually impede on your pregnancy and getting pregnant. And so, you know, I talked about stress and TTC in one of my previous videos, and I'll link these videos that I'm talking about below. Stress is a silent killer, and it can really mess with you getting pregnant if you're stressing so much, because your stress can in turn stress your partner out, and then you don't know for 2 weeks if you're pregnant. And so if you're stressing about being pregnant, you can already be stressing out, you know, your embryo before you even know that you're pregnant. And that's something that you really want to avoid as much as possible. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but you know, we just got to like try to do the best we can, because we are so excited about the lives that we are trying to bring forth in 2016, and we just want to be prepared. So I encourage each of you to go see your doctor. I also went and got my pap, and that was good. They also checked to make sure that my uterus was completely contracted down, no extra issues or anything that might have still been in my body from my previous pregnancy back in October. Everything was good, so I was super excited about that, and it just is going very well. So leave some comments. Have you gone and had a preconception preconception visit with your doctor? Is there anything you're doing while you are TTCing to prepare health-wise for your baby that is coming? Let me know, because I would really like to hear some things. I know some people take vitamins. I've talked about that in previous videos, but let me know what you're doing. And as always, I appreciate my new subscribers. I thank you for watching. I would like to put out more videos. I do the best I can with what I got. I hope you enjoy, and most importantly, I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye. Your personal physician will tell you what you need to lose and what you don't need to lose. So I will always implore people to talk with your doctor. Don't take a